to that, our Mayor Dick Ward would like to present a certificate of recognition.
The City Council really appreciates the City Club of San Marino. It has been a tremendous asset to this community for almost these past 100 years. And it would be, we would be remiss without recognizing the club, and on this particular occasion of the unveiling of these photos. And so there is a certificate of recognition that I'd like to present today to Andrew. It reads, Certificate of Recognition, City Club of San Marino, presented May 21, 2013. On behalf of the City Council of the City of San Marino, it is a pleasure to extend this expression of our esteem and gratitude to the officers and members of the City Club of San Marino on the dedication of their centennial gift, San Marino Community Leadership Portrait Project. The City Club has also participated in many centennial events, and in addition to their generous donation of a bench for the Centennial Fountain. In recognition of your dedicated service and your support of the city's 100th birthday celebration, the City of San Marino presents this certificate in appreciation and gratitude from the City Council on behalf of all of the citizens of San Marino. Congratulations.
I do want to say that we can only do this because of the support of our City Club members, so please give yourself a big hand. Now, may I have the Mayor one more time, Tom. Our first VP, Jack. Second VP, Dan. So one reason we are lucky to have our fire chief Jim on board is he's making sure that everybody do this very safely and nothing will fly out to the audience. So Jim, all yours. Should I count? Yes. 3, 2, 1. Oh, good. To me, it is really a process that makes this project so meaningful. When the leaders of each group gather for the portrait, that itself is a historical moment. It's priceless. So thank you again to Tom and the City Council and many others for making this project a reality. So, good. Moving along, it's dinner time. Okay, our receptions and meals are professionally provided by Pizza Place, California. Tonight we have Renee, Antonio, and Hector to serve us. Where are they? Yeah, get ready. So please give them a big hand. Okay, before I send you out to the dinner line, may I have the following groups to stay behind for the photos? The City Club current board members, or the past presidents, the project liaisons, and the current leader of each group. So let me start by sending the tables on my left hand side. Next time. So I'm doing this a little bit differently this time to have a lot of fun. So these are the board members that make everything run so smoothly this year. So may I have all the past presidents to stand? Past presidents. Let me introduce city officials and city representatives. Please hold your applause. City Council, Mayor Dick Ward. Vice Mayor Dennis Neer. Council Member Eugene Sun. Council Member Dr. Richard Sun. Is he still here? Okay, is Ellen Young here? City Manager John Shaver, no. Police Chief, I know he's here, Tim Harrigan. And for sure, our Fire Chief is here, Jim Crowley. Okay, Recreation Supervisor, first time Julie Ending, welcome, Julie. Our Superintendent, Lauren Kleinrock. Rotary Club President, Isaac Hung. Chinese Club, Kelvin Low, President. San Marino Tribune, Chief Editor, Pete Lehman. And we have Hannah at the back, shooting, videotaping, Channel 19. Good. Let's see. Okay, let me start with having Dennis Neer to come up.
Thank you, Andrew, and let me congratulate everybody in this room because you have gone through and are going through a historic year. This is our centennial year, and you're all part of it, so congratulate yourself for being part of the centennial. We've had some terrific events during the centennial, small ones, large ones, but we counted them up. There have been 106 centennial events this year with the various organizations. We have some recent large ones, like the one we had in the park on the 27th of April, where we had a couple of thousand people there. The big event with the chamber up at the Huntington, the largest chamber Huntington event we've had in a number of years, and on and on. And we still have some more centennial events. One, the City Club is having its Summer Fiesta, which is always a terrific event. But I'm here just to give you the heads up on two large events that will be happening as we wind up our centennial year. One is it's not up there now, but the San Marino Motor Classic. That will be on Sunday, June 9th. Donna Mann is the chairperson from the City Club who is spearheading the ticket sales to City Club members. So when you... Thank you. Trust me, it's not my fault. This is just a gremlin in the air. So, on Sunday, June 9th, the San Marino Motor Classic, we have over 200 cars already registered. It is going to be this will be the third time, but this another terrific event. Get your tickets from Donna Mann when you leave.
I'm doing this a little bit differently this time. We do have a lot. Okay, good. So these are the board members that make everything run so smoothly this year. So May I have all the past presidents to stand? Past presidents. Thank you. Let me introduce city officials and city representatives. Please hold your applause. City Council, Mayor Dick Ward. Vice Mayor Dennis Neer. Council Member Eugene Sun. Council Member Dr. Richard Sun. Is he still here? Okay, is Ellen Young here? City Manager John Shaver, no. Police Chief, I know he's here, Tim Harrigan. And for sure, our Fire Chief is here, Jim Crowley. Okay, Recreation Supervisor, first time Julie Ending, welcome, Julie. Our Superintendent, Lauren Kleinrock. Rotary Club President, Isaac Hung. Chinese Club, Kelvin Low, President. San Marino Tribune, Chief Editor Peach Lehman. And we have Hannah at the back, shooting, videotaping, Channel 19. Good. Let's see. Okay, let me start with having Dennis Neer to come up.
Thank you, Andrew, and let me congratulate everybody in this room because you have gone through and are going through a historic year. This is our centennial year, and you're all part of it, so congratulate yourself for being part of the centennial. We've had some terrific events during the centennial, small ones, large ones, but we counted them up. There have been 106 centennial events this year with the various organizations. We have some recent large ones, like the one we had in the park on the 27th of April, where we had a couple of thousand people there. The big event with the chamber up at the Huntington, the largest chamber Huntington event we've had in a number of years, and on and on. And we still have some more centennial events. One, the City Club is having its Summer Fiesta, which is always a terrific event. But I'm here just to give you the heads up on two large events that will be happening as we wind up our centennial year. One is it's not up there now, but the San Marino Motor Classic. That will be on Sunday, June 9th. Donna Mann is the chairperson from the City Club who is spearheading the ticket sales to City Club members. So when you... Thank you, trust me, it's not my fault. This is just a gremlin in the air. So, on Sunday, June 9th, the San Marino Motor Classic, we have over 200 cars already registered. It is going to be it'll be the third time, but this another terrific event. Get your tickets from Donna Mann when you leave. That will be the second largest gathering in the community this year. And and then we'll have about 3,000 people there. So we hope you participate in that. Now, the largest gathering in San Marino is, of course, the July 4th Centennial. And that will be, of all things, on July 4th. And that will conclude the centennial year. And many of you may remember that last year we opened the centennial year with a pavilion, which was fenced in, and you could drink inside of there, and you had tables, and you didn't have to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning to find a blanket spot for it. It was a very civilized, nice thing to do. Good food and good community things. So it was really a nice community event. By popular demand, we are doing a pavilion again this year, and it's our closing ceremony pavilion. It will be very, very similar to last year's in terms of quality and ambiance, but there is good news. Last year it was $100 a person, but that's what it costs for rentals and food and all that. But we found ways to save money, and this year it is only $70 a person for adults and lesser for younger people. So what I'm going to do, you all should have gotten an invitation in with the city newsletter. And already we have got, and it's just been out a few days, and we have 42 reservations, and they're coming in every day now. This is liable to be a sold-out event, so I encourage you to get your reservation in. And for those of you who might have overlooked your reservation, when you leave, I will be standing there with a supply of reservation envelopes should you want one. So I think that is going to be a terrific event, and it's going to conclude our centennial year. So that's it for the two big things coming up, and thank you very much.
Well, I do want to say both Dennis and Liz Nias, they are so enthusiastic about the centennial celebration, so we're proud to be part of the celebration. Next, City Club is not here only host the dinner meetings. We are here to support the schools and the youth activities. So let me bring out our second VP, Dan Biles, to do some check presentations.
Andrew has told me how little time we have today, and I was just told John and Julie that they had 30 seconds to speak, so I thought the only way I could really do that is to lead by example, so I'll be very brief, but I wanted to say one extra thank you to Hannah in the back. This is her last meeting. She's graduating. She's been wonderful. She's recorded all these meetings for us. They're available in the library. Check them out. And watch this space. Eventually, we hope to have it on our website so you can download it. So the mission statement keeps flipping through here. I don't know if anybody's looked at it, but our mission is very much aligned with many of the groups in town that do so much hard volunteer work. And so we have some donations that we make each year to different organizations that help carry out our mission within the community. And tonight we have the San Marino City Schools Foundation, John Kate, and the San Marino City Recreation Department Director, Julie Ending, and Beth Davis, who chairs the Grad Night Committee for the high school, and Jeff Badley, who's sitting in for the San Marino Little League. So we have some checks to present, if you want to do that over there. Okay, so if you could join me over here, I'll be very brief.
Thank you.
So there are. You wondered what we did with all the money that you paid as dues each year, that whole $115. Well, thanks to the caterer, we're able to have something left over. Congratulations.
It will be the second largest gathering in the community this year. And and then we'll have about 3,000 people there. So we hope you participate in that. Now, the largest gathering in San Marino is, of course, the July 4th Centennial. And that will be, of all things, on July 4th. And that will conclude the centennial year. And many of you may remember that last year we opened the centennial year with a pavilion, which was fenced in, and you could drink inside of there, and you had tables, and you didn't have to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning to find a blanket spot for it. It was a very civilized, nice thing to do. Good food and good community things. So it was really a nice community event. By popular demand, we are doing a pavilion again this year, and it's our closing ceremony pavilion. It will be very, very similar to last year's in terms of quality and ambiance, but there is good news. Last year it was $100 a person, but that's what it costs for rentals and food and all that. But we found ways to save money, and this year it is only $70 a person for adults and lesser for younger people. So what I'm going to do, you all should have gotten an invitation in with the city newsletter. And already we have got, and it's just been out a few days, and we have 42 reservations, and they're coming in every day now. This is liable to be a sold-out event, so I encourage you to get your reservation in. And for those of you who might have overlooked your reservation, when you leave, I will be standing there with a supply of reservation envelopes should you want one. So I think that is going to be a terrific event, and it's going to conclude our centennial year. So that's it for the two big things coming up, and thank you very much.
Well, I do want to say both Dennis and Liz Nias, they are so enthusiastic about the centennial celebration, so we are proud to be part of this celebration. Next, City Club is not here only host the dinner meetings. We are here to support the schools and the youth activities. So let me bring out our second VP, Dan Biles, to do some check presentations.
Andrew just told me how little time we have today, and I was just told John and Julie that they had 30 seconds to speak, so I thought the only way to really do that is to lead by example, so I'll be very brief, but I wanted to say one extra thank you to Hannah in the back. This is her last meeting. She's graduating. She's been wonderful. She's recorded all these meetings for us. They're available in the library. Check them out. And watch this space. Eventually, we hope to have it on our website so you can download it. So the mission statement keeps flipping through here. I don't know if anybody's looked at it, but our mission is very much aligned with many of the groups in town that do some much hard volunteer work. And so we have some donations that we make each year to different organizations that help carry out our mission within the community. And tonight we have the San Marino City Schools Foundation, John Kate, and the San Marino City Recreation Department Director, Julie Ending, and Beth Davis, who chairs the Grad Night Committee for the high school, and Jeff Badley, who's sitting in for the San Marino Little League. So we have some checks to present, if you want to do that over there. Okay, so if you could join me over here. I'll be very brief.
Thank you.
So there are
if you wondered what we did with all the money that you paid as dues each year, that whole $115, well, thanks to the caterer, we're able to have something left over. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ben. So far this year, we have a good number of new members. And Janet Morgan, our membership co-chair, will introduce the latest new members. Janet.
Good evening, thank you. And so we get fun, fellowship, friendship, and we support community activities. What more could we do? So I kind of have a philosophy, and those of you who come regularly hear my little spiel of everyone bring one. And particularly our board has been doing that, and we just encourage all of you. We've had a great turnout. There are a couple members who have let their membership slide a little, and we said we would take them back. I won't look at anybody or name names. So please encourage people to join. We have a lot of fun here. We hear great speakers, and I look at all of you as being part of our membership committee. So tonight I have 3 new members that were just voted in our board meeting for the San Marino City Club. When I call your name, come on up. We'll line up here. When I'm done introducing you, all of you, you'll get your pins. We'll take a quick photo. First is Debbie Cribbs, and come on. And I asked Debbie's parents, Donna and Bill Mann, if it was okay if I had a little fun with her introduction, since, you know, Donna and Bill have been such great supporters of City Club and so active in the community. But I'll go easy on you, Debbie, I swear. So Debbie is the daughter of Donna and Bill, product of San Marino schools, went to San Diego State University. She worked for a construction management company, and in her words, met the love of her life, Greg, and was married, has 2 sons, Cole and Clay. They both attend Carver. There's a little C action going there, isn't there? Okay. She works as a part-time health aide there at Carver. She sounds very involved, PTA, school site council committee, SMCAA board, and she's just very involved in her children's activities, and I know she'll be a great addition to City Club. Welcome. My next introduction is Augustine Augie Flores. Augie, I saw you in the back. Oh, there you are. He's already on his way up. So Augie was born in Maywood, California. Actually, if you guys he's born in Maywood. He has a bachelor's degree in history from Long Beach State. He's a closeout dealer purchasing distressed merchandise. His company's called Consumer Heaven. I want to hear more about that. Interesting. He's 3 years in San Marino, married with 3 children and 1 on the way. Good luck to you. He's a deacon at San Marino Community Church and active with the Tournament of Roses. Welcome on. And the final introduction this evening is Jackie Lau. So Jackie is another product of our own San Marino schools, and proud of it. She's a graduate of San Marino High School. She studied fashion design at Parsons Institute of Design and worked for a number of years downtown and mid-Wilshire as a designer. In the past 15 years, she's worked in the marine industry as sales and marketing director for a company that manufactures engine parts and accessories for leisure speed boats. Again, I want to hear more because they're such interesting occupations. Her son JT is 8, goes to Carver, and loves baseball. He also studies music at Coburn School. Jackie.
I know Dennis already kind of mentioned the summer fiesta, but I still want David Studfield, social co-chair, to say a few words.
Thank you, Dennis, for mentioning this already. On your table, you'll see a flyer, more than one maybe, for the summer fiesta, June 18th. It's almost June, it's hard to believe. It's a great evening at the Old Mill. Mexican food, margaritas, beer, wine. If anyone here has not been to it, look at the flyer, talk to people at your table who have been to it, and I think you'll want to come. We've got already 74. Where is Soma? How many? 82 people have signed up already. I just learned this evening that we take credit card payments. Jeff Fadley can handle that for you if you'd like to pay by credit card. Also, when you send in your RSVP form, please include all the people that will be with you. That's very helpful, so we get the right name tags printed out. And we hope to see you June 18th at the Old Mill.
Last announcement for the evening, but an important announcement. It's that time of the year that we start planning for next year. Let me have our Secretary, Frank Chang, to talk about the nominating committee forming and the 2014 Board of Directors selection process.
Thank you, Andrew. Each year, the City Club organizes a nominating committee to identify potential board members to serve the next year. And in accordance with our City Club bylaws, the nominating committee consists of the current president, who serves as the chair, the first vice president, and 4 successive immediate past presidents, if they're willing and able to serve. And then there are 4 at-large members of the club who are elected at this May dinner meeting. So the following persons have been proposed to serve on the 2013 nominating committee. Andrew Yip, our current president, Jeff Fadley, the first vice president, Pete Leffler, the 2012 president, Janice Lee McMahon, the 2011 president, Al Bowe, the 2010 president, Kent Halkett, 2009 president. And for at-large members, Lucille Norberg, at-large member John Lucas, at-large member Shelley Gilmore, and at-large member John Rossiter. Are there any other nominations from the floor?
Mr. Secretary, I move the nominations be closed and a unanimous ballot be cast.
Done. Perfect. Moving on. Yay. Jeff Fadley, can you please come up to introduce the speaker?
At the turn of the last century, the world was seeing revolution in everyday life. Henry Huntington saw this revolution and was determined to bring it to Southern California. His visionary rate car system, a system that Morton led us off the series with, ran on electricity. According to Mechanical Engineering Online, the railway used 80% of the available electricity produced in the area. Clearly, existing power sources were inadequate, and Huntington knew that the area needed reliable power for Southern California to develop and thrive. The answer was typical Huntington. Build what would become at the time the largest hydroelectric project in the world and had the greatest vertical distance fall. Big Creek, as it is commonly known, pushed engineering, materials, and men to their limits and attracted worldwide attention. The hardest working water in the world. Jennifer Allen Goldman is the institutional archivist and curator of manuscripts at the Huntington Library here in town. She is responsible for the Huntington Institutional Archives as well as all manuscript collections related to Henry Huntington, his family, and his business interests. In addition, Jennifer oversees collections in transportation, modern Southern California corporations, and 20th century American history. Jennifer earned her BA with honors in history from Claremont McKenna College and her MS degree in information from the University of Michigan. Jennifer has presented on topics including online access to archival sources, arrangement and description of archival materials, preservation of family papers, the Huntington family, and the history of the Huntington Library. Please welcome Jennifer Allen Goldman.
Move your chair because we're going to switch computers. It's going to be really amazing when it turns on. So thank you for inviting me to speak. When Jeff called, he said, well, I'm really interested in hearing about Big Creek. And I thought, oh, thank goodness. No offense to everybody in the room, but I've been working with the founding families of San Marino for over a year now, and it was such a wonderful opportunity not to talk about the Wilson's patents or the Shorbs. So I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to play with something new, if you will, one of my other toys. One of the collections I'm responsible for is the Southern California Edison records. And Edison was moving out of a warehouse about 7 years ago and wanted to preserve their material, and contacted the Huntington and donated all of their historical records, historical photographs, and motion pictures to the Huntington. And we've uncovered some really amazing gems, especially in the motion picture collection. What you're going to see tonight is a handful of the photographs from the Southern California Edison collection. And the Edison collection photographs are available online on the Huntington Digital Library. I say what you're going to see, and I'm hoping that's true. And he just walked out. That's never good. Well, okay. So what is Big Creek? Let's just start there. So Big Creek, as Jeff mentioned, is a modern engineering marvel. It's a Southern California Edison hydroelectric system in the Sierra Nevadas, located in Big Creek, California. Originally it was called Cascada, now known as Big Creek. And it's located about 45 miles as the crow flies from Fresno, and over 225 miles from downtown Los Angeles, which at the time was the hub of the electrical power into Los Angeles. Sorry, I keep hoping the projector's just going to turn on magically.
It will.
It will. All right. It says it will.
Just keep going, stretch.
So why is it? So Big Creek, in addition to having this great tie to San Marino with Henry Huntington, it was the first large-scale hydroelectric project in the United States. And what really amazed me is that this entire project came about from the mind of one man in the 1890s. I mean, this wasn't 1930s, this wasn't 1950s, we're talking 1890s. A man went up there, a man by the name of John Eastwood, whose picture you will see shortly. And he went up into the Sierra Nevadas. He was an engineer from Fresno and was hired by a company that was doing logging. And was hired to kind of build their flume to send water and lumber down from the Sierras, from Shaver Lake in specific, down to Fresno. So he goes up there and he realizes that the hydroelectric possibilities of this part of the Sierra Nevadas are, almost immeasurable.
and he starts to get these ideas, and that's really where this Big Creek idea comes from. So this is a time when electricity was just starting to come into homes, just starting to come into businesses. It was not, it wasn't a common occurrence in the 1890s. So to have someone that visionary think, well, we could, you know, make thousands of kilowatts just by building a couple dams. It's really incredible. Success.
Yeah, we'll get lights in just a second.
So, since I work for the Huntington, I couldn't avoid an EIR. And this is actually from an economic impact report that Edison had to put forth to the Forest Service in 2007. And it's a little hard to see it from way back here when you're not reading the document. But this is Yosemite in the top left, Mono on the top right, if you're familiar with this part of Central California. Shaver Lake, Huntington Lake. I mean, this is an incredible piece of property. I started to try and track it down on Google's Maps to see that it was beyond my technical capabilities. So this is John S. Eastwood. He went up there, he saw the great potential in the geography of the Sierras and the amount of water they had and the snowmelt. And I mean, if you're familiar with that area, you know there's just these giant great big canyons and steep cliffs, and like dam it up and put some water behind it and you've got a great hydroelectrical source. So he founded with another gentleman from Fresno, the San Joaquin Electrical Company, to basically build the Big Creek project. It went bankrupt about 4 years later, but he didn't give up on the project. Now might be a good time to explain how hydroelectrical power is created. I got to learn all about this myself, planning this out. So on the top left is what a hydropower plant looks like. The dams, this is what a modern hydroelectric plant would look like. The one at Big Creek, the original one at Big Creek, is a little bit different because instead of having the water come from below through the dam, they actually built penstocks, giant tunnels essentially, pipes, which I'll show you. So, the curtains are moving. And basically the water from a reservoir is funneled into penstocks. The water hits the blades of a turbine, which turn magnet past coils of copper wires within the generator. And then the movements of electrons created by the magnets and coils turn into AC power, which is then transmitted by transmission lines to a substation. And that is about as technical as I'm going to get on that. I was pretty proud of myself for talking about electrons. So when Henry Huntington founded the Pacific Electric in 1901, the population of Los Angeles County was a little more than 170,000. Yeah, I know, right? Let that sink in, 170,000, the entire LA County. So Huntington, had this great Pacific Electric Railway, but he realized that the need, that his PE cars, as Jeff said, were taking up 80% of the electrical power. So he was going to need a steady stream of power. He founded Pacific Light and Power Company with two gentlemen, Alan Balch and William Kirchhoff. Same year he founded the Pacific Electric. And Balch and Kirchhoff had actually already built a hydroelectric plant on the San Gabriel River, so they were good people to know. And with Henry Huntington's capital, they built, as part of Pacific Light and Power, a hydroelectric plant on the Kern River, which is what you can see behind me. So you can see the penstocks coming down. That's where the water is being funneled through, and then it will go through this, through the plant down here. So Pacific Light and Power wisely realized that there were other places that would have great possibilities for hydro, and ran into John Eastwood and purchased John Eastwood's bankrupt company and put John Eastwood on as a contractor. So from 1899 through until 1910, 2010, Eastwood worked as a contractor for Pacific Light and Power, continued to make engineering designs, continued to stay in the Big Creek area, purchased up water rights, and kind of did all of this just, I think probably because he was very passionate about it, but it did not serve him well in the end, which I will get to. So he proposed the full Big Creek to Pacific Light and Power in 1903. Well, we're talking maybe 190,000 people in LA County at this point in time, and they said, we don't need it. We don't need the power. We've got this Kern County plant. We've got the Redondo steam plant. We don't need a giant hydro plant 300 miles away in a remote part of the mountains. He continued on it. He proposed another set of designs in 1905, and Pacific Light and Power just said, we're good. Fast forward to about 5 years, 1910, just before Henry Huntington sold the Pacific Electric to Southern Pacific, the population of Los Angeles had grown to 500,000. Big jump. This behind me is a picture of all of the red cars waiting in line. It was captioned rush hour in the 1910s. So you can see now they needed that great source of power. So in addition to having hydropower as far more regular than steam power, it was also a lot cheaper. So the Redondo steam plant produced 1,000 kilowatts for $4, whereas hydro would produce 1,000 kilowatts for 91 cents. So big difference. So Pacific Light and Power decided to take John Eastwood up on his plans. They reincorporated to provide, to produce more capital. They bought some people out, usual Henry Huntington business machinations. John Eastwood was one of the people he bought out. And between 1910 and 1912, Henry Huntington gained full control over the Pacific Light and Power Company through said machinations. So the first thing they did was they hired an outside contractor. They hired a Boston firm called Stone & Webster to manage their construction. And the first step, of course, if you're Henry Huntington, is building a railroad. So they built the San Joaquin and Eastern Railroad, and basically what this did is it took the equipment, the building materials, the men from the Southern Pacific terminus up to Big Creek where all the construction was going to happen. And you can see here, they did this in the winter. They started in January and continued through. I'm sorry, they started in February and continued through. So they were finished in April of 1912. Started in February 1912, finished in April. On average, they had between 800 and 1,200 men working on this railroad, constructing it. 17 plus camps, so different base camps for these men. They did 12 miles of track, and they did approximately 12 miles a day, and they worked 10-hour days, 7 days a week. And you can kind of see from this image, it wasn't the most flat, level, non-curvy surface they were building. They were really building it on the edge of the mountain. I'm sorry, I said they finished in April. They finished in July. 56 miles in 165 days, 255 steep grades, 1,073 curves, and 43 trestles, which are wooden bridges to go across. It's pretty amazing. These are later pictures, so this is when they had a passenger bus on the line, but originally it was really just for construction. Once the railroad was complete, they could really get to work, and all this was done in a hurry. So they had to construct as fast as possible 4 dams, 2 tunnels through the mountains, so granite, 4 penstocks or flow lines, which were 84-inch diameter pipes, and 2 powerhouses. So you can see this is the dam at Huntington Lake, and they basically. It was a gravity dam. Eastwood wanted wanted dams made of earth, and Stone & Webster said that's not going to last. So they were doing concrete dams. They would have a concrete mixer at the top, and they would build these big wooden scaffolds up. Here's another shot of the dam when it's closer to completion. And then they actually added 50 feet on top of the dams within 10 years of them being finished. The tunnels were all done by man and mule, if you will. They basically had a couple steam drills. So they would use the steam drills to pick away the bigger chunks, and then they would have men with pickaxes, and they would fill up buckets, and the mules would take them out. There were 2 tunnels. One was 4 miles long. The other one was 3/4 miles long. Both were granite, and the men worked 24 hours a day. They would have, they had headings, so the end and the beginning of each tunnel, and then they had different places in the middle of the tunnel that they would kind of go at as well, so that they could connect all the different pieces as fast as possible. These are the pipes. So these are the penstocks. They were on, and this is the pipes that would bring the water down into the powerhouses. They were so steep, the grade, to get down to the powerhouses, that they actually built an inclined railroad next to where the penstocks were going to go. And the inclined railroad, similar to Angel's Flight or a funicular, if you've seen them elsewhere, they had a steam engine on top, a steam generator on top, and then they would pull the construction equipment up on a cable up this inclined railroad. The penstocks would shift with the heat. They were so large and they got so long that they would fill them with water because it would help them not shift with the weather. I can't even wrap my mind around that. Like, how big must it be to be that affected by the weather? It's amazing. At height of construction, they had 3,500 men in the middle of nowhere in the Sierra Nevadas in 12 different camps. So you can see here, this is lunch at one of the camps. Very, very crowded. And all of them did all of this work in suits and hats. Which is my favorite part about these construction pictures, is that everyone's wearing a suit and everyone is wearing a hat. Which I will never understand, but, you know, and no elastic either, so it just really boggles the mind. And they worked day and night, so this is the construction of the dam at night, so you can see all of the different lights. They also had 2 very large powerhouses to build. So this is a picture of Powerhouse 1 under construction. It was 5 stories tall. This is the Pelton wheel. So this is what the water would push, and then it would turn the rotor and run the magnets past the coils. This picture is a little bit later. This is from about 1948, but it gives you a sense of how large these wheels really were. So they had 2 penstocks attached to a generator in the middle, and then they would cover everything up at the end. And it still looks like this today. They are open on Tuesday afternoons, scheduling my vacation around it. And so you can go visit Powerhouse 1. This is what Edison referred to as a beauty shot, which I thought was hilarious. This is Powerhouse 1. It was finished in October 1913, ready to deliver power. So it's coming up on its centennial year, like many things around here. And Powerhouse 2 was ready to deliver power in December of 1913. And these were the first 2. Now you can see here in this picture the water out below. You couldn't see that in the picture of Powerhouse 1 quite as well, but it's down underneath the trestle, which is where the San Joaquin and Eastern Railroad would run through. But you can see at the bottom all the water running through. So the water would run through, hit the wheels, and then spit out at the bottom. So the transmission lines also had to be constructed. And when this was built, it was the longest in the world, operating at the highest voltage. So 241 miles from the powerhouses to the Eagle Rock substation, which looks so far away in this picture, but I know it's just up off Fig. The wires that were put on these transmission lines were specially made. They were 7 strands of steel surrounded by 54 strands of aluminum. So I imagine they were about the size of my fist, and then going 241 miles out of the Sierra Nevadas down to the Eagle Rock substation. This whole project cost almost $14 million in 1913 dollars, not in today's dollars. So you can imagine it was good that they incorporated and recapitalized. Of course, there were things that didn't go quite right. There was a strike shortly after the project started in early 1913. There was a strike. The international workers of the world were involved, and then Stone and Webster locked everybody out, and then 3 weeks later, everyone made peace and they hired a handful of their workers back. In 1914, camp life was less campy than it was previously. They had a post office, a train depot, a theater, a hotel, a sawmill, concrete plants, an infirmary. They always had a doctor living there just in case. And then in July of 1915, the Huntington Lake Lodge opened. So they realized, hey, we have this nice lake, let's do something with that. Instead of just making water with it, we can also, or making power with it, we can also just make recreation money. So they opened this lovely lodge with a swing set, and tourists came. And they would come up the San Joaquin and Eastern Railroad and spend, a week or a month at the Huntington Lake Lodge, roughing it. Clearly, roughing it. So prior to even the building of Big Creek, Huntington had been trying to consolidate all of Los Angeles' electrical utilities. He owned gas with Pacific Light and Power, and was really just trying to combine everything. And Edison, the Southern California Edison Board at the time, in the early 1908, 1909, basically said no, made it impossible for him to take over Edison. But by 1912, as I mentioned earlier, Huntington bought Kirchhoff and Balch out of Pacific Light and Power. He basically gave them the gas and took their shares of the power part of Pacific Light and Power, and used that in part to take over Edison. So in 1916, Henry traded his PE stock for his Edison stock, making him a primary stockholder in Edison and basically providing Big Creek to Southern California Edison and consolidating the Los Angeles utilities. The merger was approved in 1917, in March 1917, and I imagine the sign went up on the Eagle Rock substation that month. And Big Creek continued to grow. I mentioned that they enlarged the dams shortly after they were built. It grew to what it is today, which is 23 generating units and 9 powerhouses with a generating capacity of approximately 1,000 megawatts. We're talking about kilowatts earlier, so add a few zeros. 27 dams on 6 major reservoirs with storage capacity of more than 560,000 acre feet. And they continue to run the powerhouses and use Big Creek as a production facility today. It amazed me when I was doing this research to come across the 2007 Environmental Impact Report and to see that not only was this still an active plant, that it really hasn't changed. They're still using very similar machinery and the buildings all look the same. Kind of neat little time capsule. Now I have to show you this. When I was looking for things, I was looking at the Kirchhoff Dome, which is the dome you can see in the black and white picture. Eastwood named that after Kirchhoff because Kirchhoff was paying his salary. And it's this beautiful dome, and you see it, it's right above Powerhouse 1. So in a lot of the pictures of Powerhouse 1, you've got this big, beautiful dome. Turns out, it's this hidden gem for rock climbers, which I couldn't even imagine. So I stumbled upon a rock climbing forum, and all of these people were talking about like free climbing the Kirchhoff Dome and getting attacked by falcons. But I came across one of the people posted this great picture of these 2 men who are getting ready to climb up the original inclined railroad to get up to Kirchhoff Dome to climb it. I didn't put any of the climbing pictures on there in case you guys are afraid of heights because they really it was intense. I was worried for them. I know they survived because they posted pictures, but it was disconcerting. But you can see here, I just love the fact that not only does the inclined railway still exist, but the penstocks are right next to it. So I guess really things haven't changed that much up there. And as many of you are familiar, Huntington Lake and Shaver Lake and these other lakes are very popular recreation areas to this day. That's it. I'm happy to answer any questions. So of the 3,500 people, how many fatalities did they have? Not as many as you would think. Part of the strike was complaining about poor working conditions, that they did have a couple people die, but it wasn't a high number. It wasn't a number that came up, and so it was relatively low, right? I mean, if it was a big number, it would have been a popular statistic. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes. Repeat the question. Yes. So the question was, are these still working today? And they are. They're all still owned by Edison, and Edison still uses them to this day. And just had to go through a licensing project with the Forest Service in 2007. Right, so Randy wanted me to remind you how much power comes, and I'm going to have to go back to get the exact statistic. It is 1,000 megawatts of power from this entire project. So that's more zeros than I can quickly do, but a lot. I mean, we're talking one of the bigger power projects for us. Do you have more specifics? Okay. Randy says it's 20% of the power. That was not on their website when I was making sure this was still in use today. They're keeping it sneaky. Sir. Right. So wisely brought up. This was all done with private money. Not there was no government money spent on this. It was all capital raised by Henry Huntington and his investors. And that's part of the reason the project took a little longer is because they had to raise the capital. So they were ready to go in 1910, but they didn't have the funding. So you can imagine trying to raise $14 million in 1910. They actually anticipated it only costing 12. And so it did go $2 million over budget, which is a lot of money for today, let alone 1913. Yeah. Totally private project. Yes?
So what happened to Eastwood?
So what happened to Eastwood? So Eastwood was bought out, and that was the end of the Eastwood Trail. I think he probably went back to Fresno and continued working as an engineer, but he didn't get he did not reap the financial benefits of his very, very good idea. But a lot of the engineers up in Big Creek recognized him as a pioneer in the hydroelectric field.
Well, could you tell us if Huntington Lake was named after Henry?
Yes, so the question was about Huntington Lake. It was named after, it was called the Big Creek Reservoir originally, and then they named it after Henry when, in 1914, 1915, and then they opened the lodge. Yeah. And that lodge continued to be the Huntington Guest House for Edison visitors up through the 40s and 50s. Well, there's a lot more information about Big Creek, and I'm sure that a handful of you guys can get together and caravan up there. It's only, what, 240 miles? Thank you all very much.
Thank you. On behalf of the City Club, I want to give you a token of our appreciation for coming here and speaking with us tonight about Big Creek. This is something that's very important in our history, and I think we all learned a little bit about our neighborhood that we didn't know before. Thank you.
With Jennifer's presentation is a new dress code for the summer fiesta, at least for the men, suits and hats. This will will conclude tonight's program and also first half of the year. Thank you very much for coming. And we will be back on September 17th for the September dinner meeting. Have a great summer. Thank you.